Hello everybody, welcome back to Pandora Pals. This is Gigarex and
Crazypeanutpie.
Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of a movie myth and legend, the Graboids or Tremors series, I guess, because we're going to be talking about the whole entire life cycle about it and even about the newer stuff from the newer latest 3 movies as well.
Which I've only watched barely any parts, no full movies or anything of Tremors, so I get to play the role of a skeptic.
So I like to actually think that the Tremors, or at least the Graboid part of it, was made up from the original myth of the Death Worms.
It does, not knowing much about it, I can't understand, because I do, from the bits and pieces I've seen, it's about things in the ground, and you look back in myths, you do see about people fearing things coming out of the ground.
Yep. But they just added a lot more sci-fi stuff to make them even more creepier and deadlier.
That's Hollywood for you.
Yep. The only one thing that they probably didn't go super dramatic on is the size, because yes, the Graboids are large, but when you compare them to your other death worms, they're pretty small.
Oh, yeah. Death worms are generally thought to be the size of entire cities, maybe not Vegas size, but generally the size of, say, if you guys are from Oregon or South Carolina, maybe Sumter or Eugene, if you guys know where those towns are.
So, to start off, it's very hard for me to figure out to start off with where the line of this species would start, because we got the ones from the 5th movie, I believe it is, where they go to Africa, and those are supposed to be the ancient African ancestors, the original bloodline of the Tremors. But if you backdate to the 4th movie, when they're in Western times, we discover hatched eggs of Tremors, but they start off as these little Graboids. They almost look like cockroaches, but with no legs and dig under dirt.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they originated from Australia, because no one wants to mess from anything from Australia. They've got freaking man-sized bats and spiders out there.
I mean, we are talking about creatures that live under.
They do live down under.
So, I think if we were to do anything, we can just go ahead and safely assume that we're going to start from the egg hatching, start with the little creatures. And just say that it happens with the African ones, they just never went into detail about that. So, we got the little Graboids, which I think we're just going to go ahead and call them dirt dragons, because that's what they wanted to call them in the Western one. So these dirt dragons were only about 1.5 to 2 foot long, and their general way of taking out prey, they would lunge at them, making them fall over, and then they would then grasp onto them and vibrate them into underground to where they can safely eat it. With that being said, that also means these creatures hunt in packs.
True. You know what it also kind of sounds similar to?
What?
Those small little raptor things. Except for the vibrating and dragging it to the ground part.
Small little raptor things. Are you talking about the other part of the Graboid cycle?
No, I'm talking about that hunting method you just described kind of remind me of some of those, dinosaurs.
I'm confused. Are you talking about something from art?
No, where you did say, sorry, I was kind of spacing out as you were just talking about it, but from what I understood, you were saying how they hunt in packs and possibly jump on the back, right?
Oh, okay. So you're just describing it compared to the raptor in general.
Yeah. I'm trying to make it easier for them to understand.
Okay. So basically, they would tackle the prey onto the ground, and then at that point, one or like 2 to 3 or 4, however many there might be right there, maybe even all of them, grab onto limbs and body, and they shake themselves and the prey to underground, to where then at that point I can only assume that they're just doing it safely to eat.
Maybe. Which does kind of make you think of some other creatures that exist these days, where they will go out and drag their prey into their burrows before eating it.
Yeah, there's quite a bit, especially insects. And so from that point, we go on to the then big brother of the dirt dragons, the actual graboids. Now, even Crazypeanutpie here could tell us a few things about it, right?
No.
You don't know any details about it?
No.
Okay. So one, we have the fact that even though it's greatly exaggerated, in the fourth movie they like to say that these creatures are the size of 2 or 3 mule wagons, which quite honestly is, yes, they are large, but I don't think they're that large. But in one of the older movies, it was said that they're about the size of a whale. So maybe a killer whale, I can probably connect that to. Yes.
Maybe. Yeah.
If you were actually able to get to see the size of them, yeah. But,
and for those of you who don't know what a killer whale is, he's probably referring to the orca, which is
yes.
black and white, and is oftentimes at sea parks. So if you don't know, just Google orca. So.
Or if you really wanted to get a good description, just look up Free Willy.
Hey, there you go. And for those of you who have not seen it, we would suggest watching them. They do have good stuff.
That's my childhood right there. But anyways, along to the other creepier part of my childhood. Yeah. The graboid has not large spikes, but about yay-sized spikes all over its body that helps it maneuver around through the dirt. As to where the dirt dragons had them just on a row going down the side of its body. So I guess they were like a leg, but acted the same way as these spikes on the graboid. So from there, we go up to the fact that it has a beak more than a regular mouth. I think people forget about the fact that this creature has a beak, which would therefore make sense of how it burrows through the ground. An important fact that we forgot to note is that both the dirt dragon and the graboid hunt by vibrations and sound. And very, very sensitive motions allow them to know exactly where you are. You can sit on top of a rock, though they can't reach to you, they can still know that you're there, and will wait you out until you are pretty much dead, I guess.
Wait, if it's got a beak, does that mean that all that burying their head in the ground, emus have finally evolved into a dangerous predator?
Possibly.
That or further evolution of dodos.
And now continue on to another evolutionary stat of the graboid, is they have 3 tongues that resemble snakes. They even have like a head-like feature. But when you go, the difference between the regular graboids from Nevada and the graboids that we end up seeing from the deep bloodlines of Africa, the snakes are able to detach. They're just a hunting mechanism of the thing and are able to leave the graboids' bodies, unlike the ones from Nevada where they're completely detached.
So it's starting to sound like it might be something similar to a chimera.
Yeah, but another thought process of mine is like, obviously it comes with the graboid in general, but is there like a connection zone for the Africanized ones where they can reconnect, or do they just kind of go and reside into the stomach of the graboid, the Africanized one anyways, and just feed off of what it has in there to be able to survive? Because if they're disconnected from it, they can't just simply bring the food to the graboid eat the food, and magically get sustenance. This isn't Full Metal Alchemist.
True. But there's also a chance that they could, that one or two of them may go off and become their own, like, grow up and evolve, like, into their own similar version of what it is. Like, more like grow up, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
That could just be like a further way to reproduce.
And so then it's a very interesting thought process. People who are watching this, definitely drop a description of what you think happens in that scenario. Maybe there's other creatures out there that you know are similar to this. That'd be very helpful. Continuing on to the next step of the graboid. As far as I know, there is no specific gender. I think it's just an over time thing, like with butterflies, except without the cocoon, because the graboid is the cocoon. Graboids eventually turn into three shriekers, and then shriekers multiply by eating food. And the more food they eat, the more they multiply. And then shriekers then evolve, shedding their skin like a snake, and evolve into a flying shrieker called the Ass Blaster. Which I'm afraid that word makes this video not available to be seen for children, but it just depends on what the adults feel like. It's literally the name. There's no other name. I've tried looking it up. So, the Ass Blasters do not have the same mechanism as the Shriekers, where they continuously eat and multiply. They just carry an egg to which provides the next generation of graboids. An important fact that I also missed out, the Shrieker and the Ass Blasters share a hunting method, where they hunt through heat vision. They seek out heat a lot like some reptiles do. The Ass Blaster can fly. It has a chemical mixture that produces in its buttocks area to be able to lift off into the air, and then at that point it has gliders on its backside and to its sides.
I'm guessing that's hence its name.
Yes, that's how its name came to be. The then generation or the life cycle of the graboid continues, except you only know about the dirt dragons from the old western one only from there. You never see them again in the whole entire series. With that all said, like these seem like with this all said, if you follow what Burt Gummer does, it's easy to hide from them and protect yourself, but not everyone is as skeptical as Burt Gummer was.
For those who haven't seen it, you should probably say who that was.
Oh, Burt Gummer. Yes, Burt Gummer originally was just a side character in the first movie and became a larger side character for the second movie and became officially the star of the movies from there on to the actual TV series. The awesome TV series, by the way. I definitely suggest it.
And that's why being a survivor is important. You'll eventually be the star.
Well, everyone likes the skeptical person.
Oh.
But
I think I'm not upset about being the skeptic person right now.
But so it's a very interesting story because both in the series and even in the latest movies, they have described how people have been trying to weaponize the Tremors for quite some time, which is a very bad idea. I mean, you got the giant whale-sized digging worm that just sneaks up to you randomly and can just pull you and entire cars under the ground. In these, I believe it was the first movie, you actually see the Tremors attempting to sink entire houses. Which that's just a scary thought in general. But that is because those houses also didn't have concrete under them and didn't have like a basement under them to protect.
Well, that's humanity for you, wanting to weaponize anything that can devastate entire cities.
Yeah. Well, in the TV series, they actually did manage to weaponize shriekers, where they were actually able to detect heat underground. They could find hidden bunkers if needed, which also meant at that point the thermal protection blankets that they used to hide from streakers was ultimately useless. Because if they can detect you through the ground, like feet under the ground, they're gonna be able to detect you through even if it is a thermal blanket. They're gonna be able to see you.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Shows you how many filters of heat vision they have.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, like graboids, shriekers, and the ass blasters all alike are very smart. The shriekers quickly learned how to become weapons that the military tried to do to them. And then, along with that, El Blanco, the main graboid that is seen from Tremors 3 and onward, is like super smart and learned to stay away from Burt Gummer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
you know someone's kind of BA when things decide to stay away from you.
Well, Burt Gummer had a way of attracting trouble to himself, and if there was trouble that he attracted, that also meant that was food for El Blanco. Something that they could relate to and be happy about. But yeah, what do you think? Knowing all this information, what do you think would be like if the Tremors life cycle, the Tremors themselves, Graboids, Dirt Dragons, Shriekers, Ass Blasters, if they were a real thing today?
Well, considering my experience in customer service, I'd say we'd all be screwed.
Be screwed?
We'd all be screwed. But that's just if you look at it from a customer service standpoint. Now, if you actually look at the people you yourself know, there will be some people who will survive and possibly, who knows, even become the lord of them.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people try to be friends with something, but you also have to keep in mind how dangerous those things are. You can't just be like, oh, let's be friends, and they accept. You got to be careful of it because you don't want to claw through your stomach, right?
And I just remembered one thing we have to take into consideration, that those who... There's actually a couple things here. Those who might actually be able to possibly survive being ate by a graboid in the sixth movie, it actually refers back to when Bert hid in a barrel and got ate by one, and then they had the graboid chase him back to his underground bunker, which then ran into the concrete, killing itself. And the guy that did it grabbed a shovel, dug it up, and took a chainsaw and cut him out of it. In doing so, he actually got a parasite from being in the stomach of the graboid. He got a certain infection. It didn't show up until the sixth movie.
So now he's able to like survive their stomach acid.
So no, it's not quite that. Like by the time he got to him, the barrel was gone. Minutes later, Bert would have been gone. But like that just means like the graboids have other protective systems to themselves of ensuring that you are going to be dead eventually.
Yeah.
Along with that, I forgot to mention in the latest movie, Tremors, Shrieker Island, of which I've tried looking up where the island is. I thought it was like in like the Caribbean or something where all islands are. Someone has an island and planted graboids there. And with not realizing what happens with graboids, it then multiplied into shriekers. And apparently the Africanized shriekers have a much more advanced weapon than the regular shriekers. not only do they hunt through the heat vision, but their shriek paralyzes you. Their shriek is powerful enough to sit there and not I guess not paralyzed, but immobilize you by just making your ears hurt. Really
it's
bad.
on a certain, it sounds like it's on a certain frequency where it just hits you just right. Because if you experiment with sound, you'll know that there's just certain frequencies that once it hits you, it stuns you for a little bit. It scrambles with your thought waves.
Yeah.
But that also means different frequencies for different people.
Yeah. Needless to say, I think we might be able to survive alongside graboids, shriekers, ass blasters, if they were the regular ones from the original series. If you got these more... are you okay?
Someone in some DC class.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
If we were having to deal with the Africanized ones, it'd be a lot more different story as to where the regular graboids just means we have to do a little bit extra more concreting around the world and just have to carry around a motion tracker watch, which they made for the show, to be able to keep track of the graboids.
Yeah.
It'd be the same of having to deal with a bear.
True.
Which, I mean, obviously graboid's gonna win over the bear, but in the sense of survival, it's kind of dealing with a bear. But this way you have a detection system.
Speaking of that though, like if they did exist, we ourselves as humans would also in a way have adapted to a way to survive as well.
Yeah.
So that's the great thing about humans that not a lot of people remember. We're adaptable.
Yep.
So if we're put in certain situations, we'll figure out a way to survive.
Yeah. With that said, there would be any hints of shriekers popping up. There'd probably be a military put out of just trying to protect the area, making sure the shriekers stay away, and they only do their stuff in the wild, if that was the case. Ass blasters, there's not much you can really do about that. They sit there, they do what they want, and then they move on and produce the egg of the next generation of graboids. Derp. But as just a whole new scenario with the Africanized ones. The Africanized graboid is bigger and a lot stronger and cooler looking, and has its snake tongue, which can detach and then therefore chase after you. You're not safe on a boulder or in a tree from them. The Shrieker has the paralyzing shriek, and, well, quite honestly, the Ass Blaster just looks like a very terrifying, much more terrifying version of its other cousin. So I think we could manage. We'd have to be advancing more in technology.
Alright. I also think that probably, I mentioned it before, but I'd also think that I, for one, would want to not tame, but more befriend some shriekers. Because it does sound like, out of all the other ones, those, if you wanted to survive, having those would probably be the best chance of survival.
Yeah. And based off what I said, it would be possible to sit there and do that.
And it seems like if they're smart enough where you could probably even form a logical communication with them.
Yeah. Honestly, that's all I really have. So before we end the show, I do want to point out, hopefully the camera catches it all. We got new merch through the Teespring website, and this is kind of spelled incorrectly. We might fix it later. We might leave it as it is. It says Pandora Pal, not Pandora Pals, sadly.
True.
But this is the lovely artwork that Rainbow Guppy made for us to make merch. I also just recently updated the site with my old picture that a friend of mine made for me free of charge, and another one that used to be my kiddo, and we had the name for her, calling her Zarex, but we can't brand that name on a picture because that is actually a company, and we've tried it with 2 R's and 1 R, and both of those are 2 different companies. So we have to call her Zaridactyl now. So she is now Zaridactyl, and there's a little baby picture version of Gigarex, which would be her, and Rainbow Guppy made that one, and it's really cute. I suggest looking into it. If you have kids, you'll probably love it. And so, on top of that, we have also set aside money for someone else who we're paying to make a couple other, 4 other pictures. One for each animated type person of us, and they're not going to look anything like us. Like, mine's going to be the dragon dinosaur looking like creature, Gigarex, just full body instead of just the head. He's going to have one which is going to be more like a monkey ninja. And the Rainbow Guppy is going to have one that revolves around her culture, which is very unique. And she really likes fish, so she's going to have a fish-like character. In a sense, I like to call us like chimeras, and I feel like that's really fitting to the Pandora Pals, because we're basing our setup as we're all different, and so are chimeras. Like, chimeras come in different shapes and sizes.
Okay, which I do have to say, like, a lot of things you'll see these days typically have the lion, the goat, and the snake as a chimera together. But it really is. It's for any mishmash of things that are different. Like, you could have a fish dragon with lion paws. Heck, even a griffin is technically a chimera.
Yeah.
It's just not as... It just stayed in one form.
I like to see it as... And I actually have a series that I'm trying to work on. It's just in my head. I just haven't really worked into it on paper yet. Where chimeras are just mixtures of other creatures and stuff.
That later become races, like mermaids. The world is shaking.
Oh,
Earthquake.
Re-say what you just said.
It's kind of like some started out as like chimeras, where they're like mutations of mishmash parts, but later become races, like, say, mermaids, for example.
Mermaids are a perfect example of a chimera.
It's just not always... Chimeras were originally thought of as mishmash because they weren't always the same. But then you've got the ones where they sort of found a way to breed, because not all chimeras are fertile.
Yeah.
They're not all able to reproduce. But
Nope.
There's been the ones like griffins, mermaids, whatnot.
Yeah.
Which we will have to make a video probably later of various types we can find.
Oh yeah, we've already done a few times with chimeras if you actually look back into them. But sorry that we went into a rant about our merch and went into about chimeras and blah blah blah. I hope you guys all really enjoyed this video. I feel like the Tremors was the most factual thing that we had, because we're going off of actual Hollywood facts from what I've seen, and not from a mixture of different cultures on one single creature.
And we all know Hollywood has the truth, right?
Well, I mean, if it's its own creature, they do.
True.
So, again, hope you guys all enjoyed this. I hope you have a wonderful geeky day. Please hit that subscribe button, smash like, leave comments about other creatures you want to hear about. We'll love to talk about that. If you have your own made-up creature, send up some facts and a picture about it, and we'll talk about it.
And don't forget to check out the description for the link to the merch, because hey, everyone likes merch, right?
Yes, please. Just take a look at it, and I will be updating you guys once we have the other artwork for more merch things. And let us know what you want as a merch object, because we can look into that stuff. So, I guess that's it.